Getting a loan in crypto has never been easier. It requires no credit check, no income verification, no background check. We're going to dive into money markets today and talk about why they are so powerful when it comes to decentralized finance. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I am Crypto with Nick, and this is an introduction to DeFi. Today, we're going to dive into money markets and AAVE and why it's the most powerful platform in crypto. So what is a money market? Well, a money market allows users to borrow and lend money without any human interaction, right? This is all done using smart contract. AAVE is considered the blue chip of money markets, securing over $20 billion in assets. You might be wondering, why would somebody want to use money markets? And there's quite a few strategies, so let's dive into the dashboard of AAVE and start to give an introduction to the platform. If we look here, we can see that AAVE is available on Ethereum, the Polygon, and Avalanche networks, but soon it's also even going to be on Ethereum layer 2s like Arbitrum and Optimism, and even Phantom. Alright, so I launched the app, we're on the Avalanche network, and you can see here we have the choice of supplying or borrowing quite a few different coins, right? On Avalanche, we have Ethereum, some stable coins, Bitcoin, AAVE, Avalanche. And if we go to Polygon, you're going to notice some slightly different coins here. We have things like the Matic token, Avagachi, Balancer, Chainlink, right? So it does vary depending on which network you're on. So let's dive right back into things on the Avalanche network. Let's go to my dashboard. So this is actually one of my hot wallets to where I use AAVE on the Avalanche network. I'm going to give a high level overview of the dashboard. Then we're going to dive right into the strategies so that you can figure out which strategy would work best for you. And if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button and subscribe. It would mean a ton to me. All right, let's dive into things. So on the left side, we can see here that I have an approximate balance of about $18,000. And this is broken up into two different deposits. Right now, I've deposited $5,500 of USDC, and I've also deposited about 190 tokens, equaling about $12,500. In reward for supplying these assets, on my USDC, I'm getting 1.58% on the base. I'm also getting an additional 2.17% APR in Avalanche tokens paid out to me. Again, the same thing with my AVAX tokens, right? 1.89 on the base, in addition 7% paid out as a reward in Avalanche tokens. And you can see here, I'm actually starting to have those rewards accumulate quite a bit, right? I have 4 Avalanche tokens that I could claim. On the borrowing side, I've went ahead and borrowed about $6,000, right? So I am paying 2.99% for this loan, but they are paying me this 0.92%. The way that AAVE protects itself is that all loans are over collateralized, meaning if you want to borrow, let's say $10,000, then your collateral has to be greater than that. Let's dive into the first strategy, which is longing your assets to access their capital. I have a bag of Avalanche tokens here, and I'm really bullish on the Avalanche ecosystem and the Avalanche team, so I don't want to sell them. Choosing not to sell them and use a money market gives me two benefits. The first one is I don't have to pay taxes because I'm not selling my tokens and creating a taxable event. The second reason is if I put them up as collateral, now I can start to access the capital and leverage them. So as my Avalanche tokens increase in value as I expect them to, I can actually come over here and safely borrow more money, right? Right now, I can even borrow $4,300 today. With these borrowed funds, it opens up so many more opportunities. You can take these funds, bridge them to Anchor Protocol and get 20%. You could even take on leverage by buying something like Ethereum or Bitcoin. And if you have a high risk appetite, you could even convert this back into fiat and buy something in the non-crypto world. The next strategy we can dive into is shorting an asset. Using a money market, we can short an asset. You should always think of this as, let me deposit assets I'm bullish on, and I shall borrow assets that I'm bearish on. I can come here and borrow Bitcoin, right, if I want to short it. I can borrow something like 0.11 Bitcoin right now. So if I were to do that, then what I could do is come over here to Trader Joe, immediately swap it for stablecoins. And as I expect Bitcoin to drop in value, then I can buy it back lower and repay my loan. The next strategy is called looping. This means levering up your position. Right now, I've deposited USDC and Avalanche token, and I went ahead and borrowed USDC. I could actually take these borrowed funds, redeposit them as collateral, and then again, borrow more money. And you can actually loop this quite a few times. You also have the choice of borrowing and lending the same asset. And if you do the same asset, there's almost a zero risk to liquidation. Let's go over a calculator made by The Calculator Guy, a great YouTuber. Go check him out and talk about how single-sided looping could be extremely beneficial. In this example, I decided to use Ethereum for single asset looping, right? Going back to AAVE really quick, that means depositing Ethereum and then borrowing Ethereum and then taking those borrowed funds again and depositing, right? Keeping that loop going. So now let's go through this calculator. For this calculator, I said that the Ethereum price today is about $3,000. And let's pretend we start with 5 ETH, right? So our position is $15,000. And then I targeted 5 loops, and we'll go over how I got to that in a second. The future price is $3,000, right? Let's keep the math a little easy. And I predicted about 30 days out. 30 days from now, we're now going to earn 4.55% on that ETH, right? So you're earning interest on the leverage position. And you might wonder, well, how do you decide how much you can loop it? So let's come over here to this side of the screen. You can see here at loop 0, right, we have our $15,000. And as we go through each loop, this number becomes exponentially higher until it reaches a certain point that it doesn't really seem like it makes sense anymore. This is kind of the point where the returns start to diminish quite a bit. So what you can do is find a key point, like a breaking point, and say, okay, I'm going to do 6 loops because after that, it's just not really worth my time. And this is really important. Now we've taken our $15,000 position, we leveraged it up all the way to a $52,000 position, and we're earning rewards on that $52,000, right? Single asset looping can be extremely beneficial. Even if you're not doing single asset, it's still really powerful, but you do have to pay attention to the risk of liquidation, which we will cover. Another strategy and why some people might want to use money markets is to take advantage of the free incentives, right? We can see here that you're being paid almost 9% to lend out your Avalanche token. So if we check out some other popular money markets, this is Geist on the Phantom network. We can see here on the Curve DAO token, you're going to be paid 27% to supply. That's quite a bit. And if we come over here to Tranquil Finance, this is a money market on the Harmony One blockchain, right? You're being paid 9% on Bitcoin, 10% on One. And even if you come over here, you're being paid 2.72 to borrow liquid staking, right? They're paying you to borrow liquid staking. So it's very interesting sometimes that these platforms will give out money for you to supply and borrow. There's one more topic we have to talk about, which is managing risk and avoiding liquidation while using money markets. We hear it all the time on the news, on Twitter, on TikTok, how leverage traders get liquidated. I'm going to show you how to do this safely and avoid that and keep that risk down at a minimal effort. The first thing we have to consider is which asset are you going to supply as collateral, right? Different assets are a little bit more volatile than others, so they have different borrowing limits. Let's start by looking at something like Ethereum. Here at Ethereum, we can see that the maximum loan to value is 80%, but our liquidation threshold is 82.5%, right? That's not a big gap between these. That means if you were to supply $10,000 worth of Ethereum, the max you could borrow would be $8,000, right? 80% of 10,000. And if Ethereum were to drop just a little bit, right, your collateral and your liquidation threshold reached 82.5%, you would be liquidated. This isn't really applicable if you're doing single asset looping, but if you're doing something like my dashboard where I'm lending one token and borrowing another, right, it's something we have to manage. And we can look at different assets. For example, a stablecoin has 75% loan to value, right? If we go to something like Bitcoin, it has 60% loan to value. And finally, if we look at something like Avalanche, right, it has about 50% loan to value. So again, loan to value means that if I supplied $10,000 worth of Avalanche tokens, the maximum I could borrow would be $5,000 or 50%. Your loan to value is actually represented on your dashboard. We can see here that my current loan to value is 33.19%, right? I have the ability to borrow money, but since the markets are in a bit of a downturn, I like to keep my health factor really safe. This is a representation of how safe my loan is. So let's talk about what would it take for me to get liquidated at this loan? Well, we can do some really easy math. We can take our health factor and divide it by our collateral. So here I'm going to take $17,000, almost $18,000. I'm going to divide it by my health factor, which is 2.09. And if my collateral were to reach $8,500, I would be liquidated out of my loan. Now, it would be really hard for my collateral to reach $8,500 because half of it is USDC. That would mean that the Avalanche tokens would need to drop almost 60%. And in the worst scenario where I would be liquidated, make sure to read the docs of whatever money market you're using on, because some money markets will liquidate you completely. And then other money markets like AAVE, they'll just liquidate what's necessary to bring this health factor back up. If this health factor reaches 1, I would be liquidated. So they'll do what's necessary to raise it back up. But if you're somebody like me who's very active in crypto, right? If I notice that the market is going down, if the Avalanche token is not performing well, right? I'm not just going to watch my loan get liquidated. That would be ridiculous. I would start to come back here. I would start to repay this loan little by little as necessary until I felt it was safe. We covered so much in this video. AAVE is truly one of the most powerful platforms in all of DeFi and crypto. We talked about how money markets can help you access capital of some of your crypto. It can allow you to short crypto. Some of these money markets are even paying you to borrow or lend. And finally, by not selling your crypto and using money markets, you can avoid taxes. I hope you enjoyed this introduction into DeFi. If you're having issues, follow me on Twitter, shoot me a DM, or come join my Discord. We would love to help you get started. Welcome to DeFi. Cheers and happy farming.